Hey there, Star Stuff. Welcome to the Creator Being Podcast with me, your host, Artist Ash Archambault. And we are here to experience and practice right here during this podcast greater levels of freedom of expression, freedom from perfection, and connectedness to the creative force of the universe. Woo-wee! And we're here to have some fun doing it because we're here on this planet to reimagine a brave new world through the depths of our hearts. And how in the heck do we do that? Well, we gotta move through our humanness and connect to the unknown in any single moment where we can experience the magic of creating something from nothing. So join me on an adventure to your own creator being self. Hey there, Star Stuffs. Welcome to the Creator Being Podcast number 3, Finding Freedom. Here's a little tune most of you may know. It goes a little like this. The land of the free and the home of the brave. Francis Scott Key, thank you so much for that little lyric. To all my American friends, we know that as the last part of our national anthem, the Star Spangled Banner. And it is a phrase that so many of us associate with freedom. And in our military, they'll say the land of the free because of the brave. And you see this on all of these military family and support shirts and material goods, right? Well, I would like to have a little riff on it. I want a creator being riff on this beautiful little phrase. And I want to say this as a citizen of the world. No matter what country you're in, here's what I have to say about that little phrase. To me, it's really the land of the free when you choose to be brave. Do you feel that? I feel that. And this concept of being brave has been widely associated now with the tremendous body of work from researcher Brené Brown on vulnerability. And in her work, she particularly highlights this link between courage and vulnerability. And she describes it as having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. And it's so damn true. We each can experience a very palpable sense of freedom come into our awareness and our inner life. We can feel what that feels like when we aren't trying to control outcomes. And this is really where I want to dig deep today about this freedom of expression, freedom from perfection, in unfurling this concept of freedom and how we can actually practice living it more authentically and vibrantly each day of our lives. I would definitely say that it is a daily goal of mine to feel a greater sense of freedom. I have a little page tear out here from Leanne Ford's magazine, Feel Free, which I love. I love her as an interior designer too, but her magazine is fantastic. Go check it out. Anyway, the tear out says, and I have it here on my Creator Being work altar, it says freedom of expression, freedom from perfection. And I think she really nails this sensibility of what freedom feels like in terms of our actions. It does feel like we can be fully expressed. It does feel like, I don't have to be constricted by this false idea of perfection or this goal that has to be attained. It has to be a certain way and look a certain way. And the only thing that we're concerned with is how it actually feels to us. And how it's recently been feeling to me. I love this reframe. I've seen it from a handful of people out there, but my favorite, most vibrant expression of it is from this anti-woke, freedom-fighting life coach named Kaylor Betts, and his philosophy is that if it's not a fuck yes, then it's a no. And to me, I have been relentlessly applying that to my life. It's really a tremendous practice for me to discern where I really want to put my energy. Think about that. If it's not a fuck yes, then it's a no. And you can apply that to the groceries that you buy, to the route that you take to your job, to the calls that you want to take today. I mean, just anything. It can be small and it can be large. It's really been helping me clarify all of the subtle parts in me that are still programmed, which I know so many of us are. This is so human. These parts in us that want to people please, that want to shy away from conflict, that don't want to speak our mind, not follow our heart, that will completely tolerate misalignment or stagnation or even ill treatment, or we are usurping our responsibility of our happiness to other people, or our sense of freedom or our sense of authenticity to other people. And these are all tremendous resistors of our personal freedom. And there's many more than that. I just named a handful right there. But here's the hard truth about freedom. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Thank you, Thomas Jefferson. To me, eternal vigilance is another way to express how we have to always be aware of our inner condition, aware of these thoughts and feelings and parts inside that are resisting our own freedom. They're going to start driving the car again, and we're going to go back to sleep, and they're going to take the wheel and start driving us, and we're not going to be driving the car. And when that happens, our freest self gets pushed out of the way and we go back to being unconsciously driven, right? And this is, again, an unavoidable aspect of our humanness. But the beauty is that we choose to keep seeing it, seeing its games, seeing its patterns, and choosing not to go along with them anymore. And this is where we experience our own willpower and the strengthening of our own willpower to choose differently. And to me, choosing differently and leaning into that willpower of not going into those patterns, that is where so much of our freedom is unlocked. The pursuit of freedom is victory, and choosing that pursuit time and time again is what strengthens that muscle of choice. We will grow our ever expansive experience of freedom if we keep leaning into not just going along with what feels okay, but what feels like a fuck yes. And if you're not even sure what that means for you, well, then your job, each of our jobs here in Earth School, is to create experiences for ourselves so we can investigate that. Do we want to figure out what really lights us up inside? And that takes time, it takes energy, it takes effort. But wherever we put our energy, that place will expand. So if you say, I'm committed to figuring out really what lights me up, really what brings me joy, really what sets me up inside for a feeling of liberation or freedom, really seeking out those experiences. And what you seek is seeking you. Thanks, Rumi. And you will start to experience those things. They will start coming into your awareness. It's just unbelievable what starts to happen. And you can see it as synchronicity, and you can see it as the power of your own choice. It's like making an investment in yourself. Oh, yeah. I'm going to try that to see if that lights me up. I'm going to see if that makes me feel more free. Try it. See what you experience. That's what you're here to do. Have any of you heard of the group called Beautiful Chorus? The music is absolutely beautiful. I'm currently listening to all of their music on repeat, and they have this beautiful song called Pachamama. And to me, I feel like it really epitomizes that sense of what we feel inside as freedom, which is a coming home, a coming home to ourselves. What feels so good. We feel comfortable in our own skin. We feel welcomed. We feel nurtured. We feel supported. We feel alive. We feel ready to give. We feel ready to sacrifice. We feel ready to step into something greater than ourselves. It's that feeling. Whew. I don't have the rights to this song, otherwise I would just play you this beautiful song. But you know what? Every song to me is like a poem, and so I want to read this song to you like a poem. Again, this is Pachamama by Beautiful Chorus. I want to be free, so free, like a feather blowing through the breeze, like a bird in a tree, like a dolphin in the sea. I want to fly high, so high, like an eagle in the sky. And when my time has come, I'll let it all go with a sigh. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. Pachamama, I'm coming home to the place where I belong. I want to be free, be me, be the only being that I see. Not to rise, not to fall, be at one with love and all. There is no high, no low. There is nowhere else to go except inside within your heart and be just who you are. Pachamama, I'm coming home to a place where I belong. Pachamama, I am coming home to the place where I belong. I feel like the phrase that really resonated with me was, I want to be free. I want all these things. I want to feel like the bird and the dolphin. But when it's time, I'm going to just let it all go with a sigh. And this is where I want to talk about the relationship of surrender and freedom. And to start, I want to quote Phil Good. I simply adore Phil Good. Something Phil Good has said is that life's purpose is to relinquish all control, which is kind of coming back to also what Brene Brown said. Okay. So, and I agree with both of these statements. And I take that, the relinquishing of all control, to mean attachment to outcome and allowing our faith and surrender to be the staff that we cling to and not control. And this doesn't mean that we don't take action or accountability. It's quite the opposite. When we truly surrender and relinquish control, we are taking radical responsibility for our attachment to outcomes, how we want things to be. And all we do is the absolute best that we can with action by following what we feel to be the best in our hearts. And while we do that, we know deeply that everything happens on its own time, in its perfect unfoldment, with the faith that everything in our heart, what it truly, really divinely desires to experience, will happen. That is what that means to me. And I feel like this is deeply key in feeling that sense of freedom, is untying ourselves from expectations and attachments to outcomes and allowing ourselves to surrender to what is. And this concept of surrender isn't passive at all. You know, when we think of like surrender, we think of people, a spiritual context. It's like, oh, I'm just going to sit here and be and do nothing. And I am enough as I am. And I'm just going to sit and be quiet and meditate and let the world happen around me because I'm not in the world or of the world. I am just a piece of God sitting here. You know, these long explanations of surrender. And to me, surrender is not passive at all. It's actually total movement. Here's what I want to say about that. When you surrender to your heart's calling, to that fuck yes, to what makes you feel alive, to what makes you feel like there's something greater than yourself, worth sacrificing for, worth expanding into, and confronting the parts inside that are afraid to relinquish how you want things to be. And stepping into the unknown, that is not sitting around and waiting for shit to happen. That is a very active choice to make. We're not sitting around waiting for the sky to shift. We are working deeply internally and confronting the parts inside that our logical, protective mind wants to rigidly keep in place. That being said, it's also not about being reckless. Freedom isn't about recklessness either, and surrender isn't about recklessness either. It's about answering a call, which is the opposite of recklessness. Because being reckless really means that you don't have an intention. When you're being reckless, you're really making choices from an unconscious place. A place that you really don't know why you're making the choices that you're making. You're just making them to make them, which all of us do at one point or another, or many points. But feeling this flame of the fire in your heart to experience what you want to experience, it is intuitively, deeply intentional. And it's an innate capability that each and every one of us has the opportunity to develop. And if we do not develop it, the cost in terms of a deficit is that you just aren't going to get to express all the parts in you that are longing to be expressed. Oof. And that feels like prison. That is when we feel trapped. That is when we feel like we have no hope, when we have no options. So we have to start leaning into, what do I really want to express in my business, in my education, in my development, in my pleasure time, in my playtime, in my relationships, and so on and so on. And our goal really is to lean into that one step at a time, 1 degree at a time. We have to recognize the things that light us up, feel into them, explore them, go through the barriers that resist them, and then start to articulate what that really is to us. And then we have to start really doing it consistently. Holy shit, that takes a lot of time and energy and commitment. And you have to give yourself so much grace when you're trying to really set yourself free. So much grace. And the more that you do these small actions and keep small promises to yourself and create opportunities for you to explore what it is that makes you feel free, then you are really showing up for yourself. You are really claiming your freedom and leading yourself. And this is like a muscle that we all develop, especially when you really do go for it and you see like, oh my God, that was exhilarating and I didn't die. Let's do it again, right? But here's the thing. I know, because I've been here myself, that many of you listening to this would be like, well, shit, like, I don't really know how to do this, or I think I know, but I really don't, or you're starting from scratch, or you have no idea really how to lean into this. Meaning there's a part of you that doesn't feel confident that you're going to be able to do it. And this is just the resistance that's trying to hold back our ferocious, untamable, sincere will. Because coming home to ourself is freedom. So it's something so innate. It's like that lotus, guys. It wants to just push up through all the mud it finally can until it reaches the sun. But if you're like, oh man, I don't feel confident in making these choices, or being brave and leaning into this, or oh God, the thought of letting go of how I want things to be sounds like I'm gonna die. Great. Good. The fact that you even know that about yourself is phenomenal. It's the massive first couple steps. But here's the thing. Why don't you just start with letting go of the attachment to figuring out what it feels like to be free? Letting go of the expectation of, oh, I have to get this right. It's not something to get right or wrong, friends. It's just simply something to experience. And you will feel it as you feel it. Okay. So I want to lean into a practice now. Yep, it's practice time, my gorgeous human friends. And you know why we're going to practice? Because you are always the best investment that is going to make your life mo better. So let's make this concept of freedom and how we practice it for ourselves a little easier. I want to start by connecting with our body and our breath. So right now, I want to guide you through 5-second breaths to start. We're going to breathe in through our nose for a count of 5. We're going to hold our breath for a count of 5, and then we're going to breathe out through our mouth for a count of 5. And we're just going to do it 5 times. Easy peasy. Let's go ahead, my friends. Go ahead, take a nice deep breath in through your nose for a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out through your mouth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Again, breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, breathe in. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5. Last time, nice and slow. Breathe in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold it. 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5. And just keep attention now on your body and how it feels after we just took these 5 little breaths. Now that we're a little more connected to our bodies, I want to invite you on a guided reframe right now to help us let go of any sort of expectations. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself right now and see what thoughts and feelings come up for you. What if everything in your life is perfect right now? What thoughts are coming up for you? Most likely they're thoughts about lack and limitation, which are the jailers of our hope, our potential, and our freedom. So let's bring it back here to more of our reframing. To help you focus, you can bring your attention back to your breath to let those thoughts go, or just listen to the sound of my voice. Yes, Star Stuffs, there is no such thing as perfection, just progress, which is perfectly imperfect. But this concept of what if it's all perfect right now is really meaning, what if all is as it should be in this now moment? That's what I'm talking about. That's what we are inviting right now into our awareness. It's like every single part of your life is just a dot on a map, just a little destination, this here and now destination, which is going to take you to the next here and now destination. So I'm going to ask you these questions again, but we're going to go a little deeper. What if everything is perfect as it is now? What if everything is as it should be right now? Your thoughts, your feelings, your body, your relationships, your work, and your life. Can you accept this? just for this moment. Can you accept this for this moment? If you notice thoughts of resistance, it's okay. Just simply notice them and keep inviting yourself to try and accept right now. Here's how we do that. Here's how we accept the now. Repeat after me. I hold space for this now moment. We're just going to keep repeating this. I hold space for this now moment. I hold space for this now moment. I'm going to add on to it. I hold space for this now moment as I am. Let's say it again. I hold space for this now moment as I am. One more time. I hold space for this now moment as I am. And really say to yourself, I invite this in. I invite this feeling. And let's sit with it for just a couple seconds and see how you feel. Whatever comes up for you, it's okay. You can feel uncomfortable, it can feel wonderful, it can feel anything in between. Just be with it right now, in your body, in your awareness, in the air around you. What I feel is a really deep spaciousness in me and around me. And it almost feels heavy, but doesn't feel bad heavy. It feels grounding and expansive, like roots reaching out all around me. And to aid in our acceptance, we're going to step a little deeper into surrender. You can think of surrender as a deeper letting go, but it's being held, being completely supported, completely carried, completely at peace, knowing everything is going to be okay. And here's how we can be an active participant in our surrender. We remember to offer every single thing that we do to something greater than ourselves. So right now, you can say, I offer up. You can pick a situation, a relationship, a decision you're trying to make, this experience that you're having right now. Offer to something greater than yourself, to God, to the universe, to the Mother Divine, to Christ, to your higher self, to your highest potential, whatever that is for you. Like you're just simply offering it up, like a balloon that you let go. And you know that balloon will be carried where it needs to go. Go ahead. For me and my offerings, I always like to say I offer X, Y, and Z up for the highest good. It's a pretty safe bet. The more we start offering every single thing that we do, going to the grocery store, a trip that we make, a choice, a relationship, world events, just watch for yourself and feel what you experience when you do these things. So to recap, my friends, how we can step actively through practice into greater levels of relinquishing control, freedom, and surrender. Right now, 1, reframe. What if everything is as it should be or as perfect as it should be right now. 2, holding space and accepting this now moment by saying, I hold space for this now moment and myself. I hold space for this now moment and myself. 3, offering up anything in that moment to something greater than yourself, to the power of creation, if that rings true for you. Thank you all so much for joining me here on the Creator Being podcast, number 3, Finding Freedom. May you lean into your Creator Being self and choose freedom. You can join me for podcast number 4, Ain't Your Mama's Self-Love. See you next time, Star Stuff. If you'd like to take a deeper dive into your own Creator Being self, check out ashcreatorbeing.com and come and join me on my YouTube, Instagram, and Substack at ashcreatorbeing. Hey, Star Stuff, I just want to take a second to say thank you so much for being here. And if this podcast has inspired you, motivated you, uplifted you in any sort of way, let's spread the good. Go ahead, share this podcast, subscribe. Come check me out on my subscription channels such as Substack, where you can find deeper diving into these practices and into the philosophy of how we arrive at greater levels of freedom of expression and connectedness to the creative force of the universe. Take a screenshot of what's going on right now. Go ahead and share it on your social media and tag me on Instagram at ashcreatorbeing, and I would love to connect with you there as well. Thanks so much for helping spread the good and growing our brave new world.